Lake Arthur continues to rebound after recent flooding. Coming up, why they aren't taking any chances on another major weather event. And the new and improved FEMA trailers for flood victims may not be as improved as previously thought. Plus,
our State Emergency Operations Center is already at level 2. We have 8,000 members of the National Guard ready to be mobilized if we need them. We are going to do the right thing.
Florida prepares for Tropical Storm Hermine. Now at 9 begins now.
Sponsored by Market Basket. From KPLC 7 News, this is Fox 29 News Now at 9.
Thanks for joining us for Now at 9. I'm Jillian Corder. It's been nearly 2 weeks since Lake Arthur was bracing for a major flood. Mayor Robbie Bertrand says the town narrowly avoided disaster. However, he says barriers that volunteers worked so hard to get up will stay until the end of hurricane season. After a 5-foot rise of the lake level, the town doesn't want to take any more chances. Bertrand says they are in the middle of gathering information to apply for public assistance, and he'll also be looking into applying for federal mitigation money. It may be hard to believe, but in the weeks since the new FEMA trailers became available, only 2 families have been able to get them. Liz Coe reports one official with inside knowledge of the process called it unbelievable.
Turnaround time on getting these MHUs. So from the time somebody applies to the time one is actually installed, what are we looking at?
It's very hard to give you a definitive timeline on that.
In a House committee meeting on Homeland Security Wednesday, FEMA officials explained why it's taking so long to get families in the manufactured housing units, or MHUs. Basically, FEMA says cutting through local red tape is slowing the process down.
And it's a function of our ability to coordinate with the local jurisdictions, having the sites approved, and everything's got to line up. You have all the, again, the utilities; those are all separate contracts that have to be, or entities that have to be dealt with in order to get these units in.
The major hurdle is getting these mobile homes an upgrade from those Katrina-era trailers placed in flood zones. FEMA is working with parishes including East Baton Rouge, Livingston, and Ascension to obtain temporary ordinances to override this permitting issue.
Would you move without the ordinances being in place? Would you install without that?
No.
Okay, so that is an impediment right now.
Right.
But in some neighborhoods, it's clear that these trailers won't fit. So there will have to be an area similar to a trailer park where FEMA can put them so people can live.
Right now, I don't have a lot of trust in the flow of communication coming from FEMA and other officials. Today, I was told that it would not take place here, but then the next question, where, is still gone unanswered.
The Louisiana flooding recovery efforts could cost more money than the state has. Rescue operations, shelters, and other efforts add up to $50 million. 3/4 of those expenses will be likely covered by the federal government, but that leaves a multi-million-dollar price tag for the state. The Louisiana Department of Children and Family Services alone will rack up cost of about $17 million. The department operates the shelters and the DSNAP program. A church in Tangipahoa Parish ruined by high water is also dealing with another issue. Senior pastor Louis Husser at a church in the town of Robert says volunteers were using a tractor and forklifts to remove debris and shuttle pallets of donations when someone stole a key piece of recovery equipment. 3 days into the cleanup, he says he noticed a lift plate was missing, slowing down their cleanup efforts. Another church stepped in and got the church another set, but Husser is still praying the thieves will have a change of heart and return the church's belongings.
Our church is willing to forgive them for what they've done. We just need our forks back, and maybe we can do something with these, maybe bless another church with these if they need them.
Crossgate Church was hit with a foot of water during recent floods. All the while, they are still helping others rebuild. Donations for flood victims in central and eastern Louisiana are still being accepted. Albertsons across the state will continue to take donations past today, which was the original end date for the effort. That has been extended, though. Customers will be asked at checkout if they would like to donate, and if so, how much. So far, more than $200,000 has been raised. It's sure to be a high-profile case when it goes to court in a couple of weeks. Woodrow Carey is set to stand trial September 12th. Carey is the man accused of second-degree murder in the shooting death of Reverend Ronald Harris. Harris was shot and killed in front of his congregation 3 years ago this month. Kerry was in court as the state and defense argued about evidence that should be presented in the case. Much of it will be resolved once the trial is underway. Civil attorney Ron Richard says Harris's family is eager for the trial to go forward.
The family is extremely hopeful that on September 12th, the process of obtaining justice will begin. The pretrial motions today gave them some hope, seeing the judge's rulings, that things will progress quickly and justice will be had.
Another issue that could upset that trial date is a pending state Supreme Court ruling. Kerry was first charged with manslaughter and later indicted for second-degree murder by a different grand jury. The defense argues that violated an agreement between the state and the defense. Relatives of 5 people who were killed in a road rage crash on I-10 in Baton Rouge are floored over the sentence given to the man behind the wheel. A judge gave David Leger, the man convicted of vehicular homicide, 8 years in prison. Investigators say Leger was drunk when he and another driver chased each other down Interstate 10 back in March of 2011. That other driver, Kelsey Hall, served 2 years in prison and is out on probation. Leger will be eligible for parole in 3 years, and that is not sitting well with victims.
My family did not want to see him thrown away for a long time. I would like to see him serve more than 3 years for 5 lives. A lot more than 3 years for 5 lives.
Prosecutors say they are satisfied with the judge's sentence. Leger's attorney says he plans to appeal. Just hours before a major speech on immigration in Arizona, Donald Trump crossed the border to meet with the president of Mexico. Karen Kafer reports from Washington.
Standing next to Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto, Donald Trump said the U.S. has the right to build the wall he's proposed along the nation's southern border. And while Trump said the wall was discussed during their private meeting, they didn't talk about who would pay for it.
We did discuss the wall. We didn't discuss payment of the wall. That'll be for a later date.
Both described the discussion as direct and open, acknowledging areas where they disagree. The hastily arranged meeting, the result of an invitation to both U.S. presidential candidates last week. Trump's invitation and acceptance somewhat of a surprise, with Mexico immigration and border policies frequent targets of Trump's on the trail.
We're going to build a great wall. The wall is going to be paid for by Mexico.
Because of the policies and the rhetoric, former Mexican President Vicente Fox, a vocal critic of Trump, called the invitation a mistake. And while Hillary Clinton didn't name Trump during a speech in Ohio, it was clear who she was talking about.
It certainly takes more than trying to make up for a year of insults and insinuations by dropping in on our neighbors for a few hours.
While calling the conversation constructive, President Peña made it clear his priority is to protect Mexicans everywhere, including in the U.S.
They are people of goodwill that respect family. They respect life in the community, and they are respective of the law. As such, Mexicans deserve everybody's respect.
Post-meeting, Trump took off for Phoenix for a speech aimed at clarifying his policies on immigration and that border. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafer.
The top spokesman for the terror group ISIS has been killed. ISIS says Mohammed al-Anani was killed while inspecting military operations in the Syrian city of Aleppo. Al-Anani was part of ISIS from its beginning and considered the terror group's most public figure, and was believed to be the one floated as ISIS's next leader should anything happen to its current chief. He was also known for ordering operatives to attack countries participating in the U.S.-led coalition against ISIS. Severe turbulence on a flight from Houston to London today caused 12 people to be hurt. United Airlines Flight 880 diverted to Shannon, Ireland, where 10 passengers and 2 flight attendants were taken to the hospital. All of the injured have since left the hospital except for 1 flight attendant. The cause of the turbulence is under investigation. Florida Governor Rick Scott has declared a state of emergency for 42 counties as the state prepares for Tropical Storm Hermine. It was upgraded to a tropical storm earlier this afternoon in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's headed toward the Sunshine State. Some forecasters say it could even become a hurricane before landfall tomorrow night or early Friday morning. Heavy rain, strong winds, tornadoes, and coastal flooding are all possible with this system. And it's an event more than 50 years in the making. Up next, more on the historic commercial flight to Cuba. You can fly to Cuba for the first time in 50 years. Stuart Varney has those details and more on Fox Means Business.
We haven't seen this since JFK was president, a direct commercial flight from the U.S. to Cuba. JetBlue Flight 387 touching down in Santa Clara, Cuba after leaving Fort Lauderdale, Florida Wednesday morning. It's part of the U.S. renewing relations with the communist country. A new report says private businesses added 177,000 jobs in August. That's slightly better than expected. Now all eyes will be on the government's jobs report, which comes out Friday morning. Stocks not having much sizzle this month. The Dow and S&P 500 dropped slightly in August. The Nasdaq managed to eke out a small gain. If you love breakfast and dessert, check out this super sweet deal. Baskin-Robbins rolling out a new ice cream sandwich served on a powdered donut from Dunkin' Donuts. Customers can choose any flavor and any topping. I'm hungry. That's business. I'm Stuart Varney.
Well, it's a done deal. Westlake Chemical says it completed the nearly $4 billion deal to buy Axiall. No word yet what impact the takeover will have on workers at the lake area locations of Axiall and Westlake Chemical. And Wade, a lot of activity in the Gulf, but pretty quiet here at home.
Yeah, no worries from Tropical Storm Hermine here in southwest Louisiana. As we take a look here at the weather graphics, there's Hermine in the Gulf. Also watching two other systems. There's Tropical Depression 8 and Hurricane Gaston. I'll have the latest on our forecast right after this. Well, welcome back here as a look at 7 Storm Vision HD. Really not showing much rain across southwest Louisiana as expected today. A relatively dry day with very little rain around. And as we head into the evening hours, I don't expect much more rain to pop up, although won't rule out 1 or 2 extremely isolated showers. The only rain showing up close to anyone in southwest Louisiana is out of our viewing area, down across southeastern Louisiana, down across the lower Acadiana area. Futurecast looks like this as we go through the next few hours. There are those couple of little showers going on there. Other than that, not much. As I said, I won't rule out 1 or 2 sprinkles overnight, but I don't think anything that's going to be of any sort of consequence across southwest Louisiana. We're, of course, still watching the tropics as well. Tropical Storm Hermine located over the eastern Gulf of Mexico. That is going to lift to the north and likely making a landfall somewhere in the Florida Panhandle tomorrow or early Friday morning, but it poses absolutely no threat to southwest Louisiana. Of course, we're more importantly watching a cold front located to our north. That front will move into southwest Louisiana on Friday. I don't expect much rain with that system, but it will bring a slight drop in humidity levels as we head into Friday evening and on into Saturday. Certainly some good news there. So here's the latest on Tropical Storm Hermine. Good news, it is moving off in a north-northeasterly direction at about 8 miles per hour. That takes it farther away from southwest Louisiana, looking like a landfall somewhere probably in the Apalachicola, Florida area. That's in the Panhandle region. Of course, some of you travel to Destin a lot for the beaches over there. That's just to the east of Destin. I know it's a long holiday weekend, and if you are thinking of traveling to the east toward Florida beaches, I think if you're waiting until Friday and leaving, you should be okay. If you're leaving before then, you're going to be dealing with a lot of rain and windy conditions late Thursday evening into Friday. This is Friday at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's pretty close to when it's likely to make landfall. Again, obviously no impact here in southwest Louisiana. We're also watching that same frontal boundary that's going to move in Friday night. It will be lifting back north as a stationary front late Saturday into Sunday. That means the humidity will be back on the rise as we head into the end of your weekend. But the 7-day forecast, only a 10% chance for rain tomorrow. Slightly better, but even then, not much of a chance for rain on Friday as that front actually moves through. And then I'm taking rain completely out of the forecast for Saturday. Certainly good news for the McNeese football game coming up Saturday evening.
And while we all, wish everyone well in Florida, I know that everyone in southeast Louisiana especially took a big sigh of relief.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to dodge that one for sure.
All right. Thanks so much, Wade. Federal money is quickly running out in the fight against the Zika virus. Coming up next, more on the efforts to keep the virus from spreading. The CDC is fighting feverishly to stop the Zika virus from spreading across the nation, but health officials warn the funding is drying up. And unless Congress approves more money, preventative measures will be hampered. Peter Ducey has more on this story.
Federal funds to combat the Zika virus are nearly exhausted. The National Institutes of Health warns this could become a major problem as mosquito season runs through October and even later in the Gulf Coast.
I'm very concerned about where the virus is going next.
Officials say there will be no money to fight a new outbreak unless Congress approves more funding. In February, President Obama made a $1.9 billion request for emergency funding to fight the virus. Republicans, in return, put forth their own $1.1 billion plan, which Senate Democrats blocked.
We're not getting funded for something that's a public health emergency, and which is very, very disturbing.
The CDC has already spent $194 million of the $222 million it was given to fight the virus. Without funding, though, health officials say preventative measures will likely come to a halt.
This is an epidemic that is in progress. It's going to be unfolding. In my opinion, it's going to get much worse.
And while harmless to many people, the mosquito-spread virus can cause serious birth defects in newborns, including microcephaly, a condition which causes a baby to have a smaller than usual skull.
We have an ethical responsibility. If the Congress doesn't give money, it becomes a very difficult problem.
Senate Republicans have scheduled a vote on Zika funding for next Tuesday when Congress comes back into session. Democrats are expected to block it because it excludes Planned Parenthood from receiving funds. In Washington, Peter Ducey, Fox News.
An assistant professor at the LSU Vet School is getting a $1.2 million grant to conduct research on the Zika virus. The grant is coming from the National Institutes of Health and of General Medical Sciences. The assistant professor will also be studying the chikungunya virus. The grant goes into effect tomorrow and is available until August 2019. And coming up next, Wade has a final check on your weather. The fallout from Chris Brown's standoff with police, and one rocker is making a change to the big screen. Fox News' Adam Housley has these stories and more in Hollywood Nation.
That new track record. Florida teams with Tim, Selena goes silent, and cops book Chris in the Hollywood Nation. Chris Brown was arrested Tuesday evening following a 14-hour police standoff at his Tarzana, California home. A woman called 911 early Tuesday morning claiming the R&B star had threatened her at gunpoint. Brown was charged with assault with a deadly weapon and later released on $250,000 bail. Rocker Billy Joe Armstrong is heading back to the big screen. The Green Day frontman toplines the upcoming indie flick Ordinary World, typecast as an aging punk rocker turned married father of two. Sad news for Selena Gomez fans. Wrapping up her Revival World Tour, the pop princess announced she's taking a break from the music biz to deal with, quote, anxiety, panic attacks, and depression stemming from her battle with lupus. Gomez revealed she was diagnosed with the disease last fall. She underwent chemotherapy back in 2013. Funnyman Craig Robinson and Adam Scott are re-teaming for the small screen. The Hot Tub Time Machine co-stars have signed on to headline Fox's comedy series Ghosted, about two guys hired to investigate paranormal activity in Los Angeles. And Florida Georgia Line released the music video for their collab with fellow country star Tim McGraw. May We All is the duo's second single from their new record, Dig Your Roots, reportedly on track to score them their second #1 album. In Hollywood, Adam Housley, Fox News.
Well, our forecast for the next couple of days, you're going to like this. Rain stays out of the forecast, just a slim 10% chance for rain tomorrow. Only a slightly better 20% chance Friday. A cold front moves in late Friday, bringing lower humidity just in time for the weekend. Although it's not going to last the entire weekend, but at least Saturday will feel fall-like.
Sounds good to me. All right. That's all for now at 9. Thanks for joining us and have a great night.